How are we? It's near the end of the day. Are we having a good day? Yes? All right, good. Shout out to the one person who's having a good day. That's great. My name is Andrea, and I am indeed here to talk to you about data science, and in particular, as Ildi said in her great introduction, the surprising ways that data can mislead us. We tend to think of data as the final word on things, and I'm not here to argue that we throw data away, but I'm saying that we should be critical of data and skeptical of data just like we are of anything else. And in particular, we're going to talk about an area that I think about it in the context of, which is in measuring something called talent, which we all have an idea of, but I don't think we've done a very good job of measuring it yet or turning it into data. So greetings to all, and not to brag, but I do know how to use Google Translate. Is that the right word to say hello? Yes? Crushed it. All right. And I think I'm a million years old, and so I wasn't sure if any of you remember when Google Translate used to be hilarious. Like, it used to just really get everything wrong. And so I want you to know, maybe this isn't wrong, but the first thing that came up when I looked for how to say hello is this. Okay, all right, good. It means like kiss your hand or something, right? The internet, that was the first result. And then I looked further. I was like, this seems like a lot to say hello. Like, what is this? And apparently this is how you address like old ladies, like in shops. Is that right? All right, so if there are any old ladies in the crowd, Kasolum. All right, there we go. All right. The rest of this will be in full Hungarian. Let's go. No, it's going to be in English because I'm limited in my skills. So, all right, so I am your new favorite data acrobat. I bet you didn't know you had a favorite data acrobat. Well, I have to say the data is not in, so it is not confirmed that I am your favorite data acrobat. I'll take nominations for others after this. Now, the first question you might have is a question many have, which is, what is a data acrobat? Well, I'm so excited that you asked. Thank you for asking. All right. A data acrobat is someone who works with data, and this is a whiteboard, but pretend it's data, right? Someone who works with data and also is an acrobat. And so these are both me. This is me at a circus show. You get it, all right? My favorite thing about this show is how crowded it is, but this person's just lying down. Like, great, I like that person. And a data acrobat is someone who does both of those things at the same time. So I am a data acrobat, as established, but I am also here to show you that you are also a data acrobat. Make some noise if you already think of yourself as a data acrobat. Okay, all right, good. The front row is a data acrobat. All right, my goal by the end of this is everyone's a data acrobat. So that's the mission for our time together. All right, by the way, I do my own graphics. Thank you so much. Watch this. Pow! All right, so when we think of data science, right, we think of a lot of things. We think of precision, of rigor, of discipline, math, right? Amazing. Why not? Sure, that all is part of working with data, for sure. And when we think of something like circus or dance or movement, we might think creativity, maybe some boldness, flexibility, and of course, costumes, right? A data acrobat does not live in these silos, all right? A data acrobat swaps the expectations. And they apply things like creativity and boldness and costumes to working with data and vice versa. So I'm going to address the easier side of this first. So I will argue that circus is a lot more like data science than many of you may think. So first of all, you absolutely have to be precise when you do circus. This was my last show before the shutdown, so you can see we're all getting COVID right there in that picture. You have to be precise when you're doing this, or you will die, all right? That's what happens if you're not precise in circus. It also takes rigor, right? You have to be rigorous, and you have to train even if you don't want to, because if you don't, say it with me, you will die. All right, good, this is catchy. Are we having fun? You will die, okay. You need discipline. You might think that lying on a bed of nails is the least disciplined thing you could do, and I am here to argue that it is the second least disciplined thing that you could do, because you do have to lie down very carefully, or you will die. All right. By the way, this is a tip. I brought this up mainly because I want to share a great tip for you. When I learned how to do this, the person who taught me, it was an acrobat. His name is Bendy Bendini. He's from London. And he was like, okay, here's the secret to lying on a bed of nails. Has anyone been lying on a bed of nails? Anyone on one right now? Okay, because otherwise I'd ask you to. Here's the secret. He was like, the secret is, it's just pain. I was like, that's not a very good secret, right? The secret is it hurts. That is the secret. The secret is it hurts, and you just have to deal with it. But it's a very helpful mantra, right? If you're ever in pain, if you're ever upset and you're working on a data set and you say, oh, I'm miserable right now, you say, it's just pain. And it goes away. It's not quite that easy, but I think it's good advice. All right. And last but not least, you absolutely need math to do acrobatics. All right, so now I will share with you a physics demonstration, heavily informed by math, of course. You ready for a physics demonstration? Yes, okay, one person is. Physics, thank you so much. I had to do so many equations and so much calculation in my body just now to not die. And when I faltered, that's because I'm not very good at math. All right. So that's the circus side of things. Let's talk about what we're actually here to talk about, which is the data science side of things. Why do we need these things like creativity and flexibility and all of that when we work with data? Isn't data one of the more structured things in the world? Well, we need creativity to apply data science to questions that we care about, right? It's not obvious. The things we have data on are the things that it's easy to get data on. The things that we don't have data on are questions that we probably all really care about and are really struggling still to even generate data that we can work with. So some of the questions that I think about, right, climate change, equity, poverty, and one that I'm really excited about, and I know Hungary has some cool stuff going on, is basically getting into space, right? There's a lot of data out there that we haven't collected yet, or that we have and we don't know what to do with it. We also need to be bold when we work with data. We need to be bold because the things we might want to understand most, and I'm biased because I'm a social scientist, but some of the things we might be most interested in are abstract, complex, hard to quantify. So we really need to take a risk and try to measure stuff that's really tricky to measure. For example, something like happiness. Now, I need you all to know as well that if you do a Google image search of happiness, it's almost exclusively women in fields. All right, so we obviously have no idea what happiness is. We need some data on this because this can't be it, right? This cannot be the only way we see. I'm telling you, it's all there is, right? The rest of my time, I'm just going to show you pictures of women with balloons. But even this allows us to ask really interesting, wouldn't I love some data to help me understand, are balloons causally necessary or sufficient for happiness? If anyone knows the answer to that, please come forward right now and give us all balloons if they are necessary or sufficient, all right? So, I wish I had balloons. Why don't I have balloons next time? All right, right? So, we need boldness to ask questions like, what is happiness? How can we turn it into numbers and potentially say, what makes us happier? What places are happier? There are efforts out there. I'll talk about some, but it's a bold question that we're not tackling enough. Of course, when we work with data, we need to be flexible, right? This whole conference is about being flexible mentally, right? Being open to having our minds changed in there, confronting with ideas we don't necessarily agree with. We absolutely need flexibility. Who knows who this person is? Shout it out if you do. Yeah, you're raising your hand. Polite. Carl Sagan, right? Carl Sagan, a great scientist, one of my role models, right? He says, modern science is a voyage into the unknown with a lesson in humility at every turn. I get very, very nervous when people work with data and don't start with questions and don't ask, where else could we look for more information about this thing that I'm interested in? If you just look at a data set and say, well, that's it, we're done, mic drop, we're not actually doing science. All right. And many passengers would rather have stayed home. It's not easy to admit that you're wrong. It's not easy to seek new evidence in support of an answer you don't agree with, but we must keep doing it. And finally, obviously, you can't have data science without costumes. Now, I think you all might be thinking back to your favorite data scientists, and you're thinking, well, I don't know if I've ever seen a data scientist in a costume. We're all wearing a costume of sorts, right? But I will assert to you that working with data is vastly improved if you are wearing a costume. And I would like to now provide some evidence for that. All right, this is going to seem, no, it is going to be very awkward for a second. Chat amongst yourselves. Also, there's no way to do this without seeming like it's like, ooh, a strip show. It's not. I'm taking my clothes off, but don't freak out, all right? This is a scientific exercise. Oh, this is so awkward. I feel like it'd be even more awkward if I turned around, but we're going to go with it. The key here is, I was very explicit. I was like, do not play music unless it's sad music, all right? Because it's just going to get, we should have the singer come on from before. So, all right, so the rest of our data conversation will be in costume, and you can let me know at the end if that improved your experience. Still not weird. And now we'll work with data. Are we ready for data? All right, here we go. Now we're talking. I wish this was a summer festival. I'm so cold right now. Good, good, good. Okay, let's keep going. Here we are talking about data, right? So I'm talking about the intersection of art and science, right? Taking all the skills that we have and we love in the arts and applying them to something that we think of as rigid as data. So I want to also talk, as we said at the opening, about how data can mislead us, and that happens if we forget that data does not equal truth. This is very important, and I've put 10,000 negatives in it, so I'm going to put this another way. I don't have very many friends, all right? I don't have very many friends, but I do spend a lot of my time, as you all know, on Google image search, as established. I hope Google sponsors my talk. All right. If you look up data on the internet, you get a lot of stuff like this. Wow, what a pretty picture. What is it? I don't know. Nonsense, right? This isn't what data looks like. Data isn't just zeros and ones floating around in blue sky ether, right? Oh, we have a data hallway. Wow, nobody knows what this is, right? What is data? What are we talking about? These images suggest we don't have a clear idea. Data tunnel, who knew, right? None of this, right? Data's awesome. I make a living in data. I love data, but we have to be clear about what it is. Otherwise, we can be fooled by it. So, what is data? Well, people think it's truth. And the sentence that I never want to hear anyone say ever again, I've come all the way to Hungary from New York City to say, no, data does not speak for itself, right? So it's not true, and it doesn't speak for itself. So what is it, all right? And I'm telling you, I sound like I hate data, but I love it. We just have to be honest about what it is. Here's what data is. Yay! Round of applause for data, all right. Yes. Data is just numbers and words and information that we've gathered, all right? This particular data set is actually one of my favorites. Not perfect, but you can look it up. It's from the World Happiness Report, and it is a study of how happy people are in different countries. But it's just one study and one narrow way to evaluate this, right? So here, they've gone around and they've asked people in Afghanistan over the years and Albania and so on, and you can look up Hungary, you can look up everywhere and see how happy people are reporting that they are. Not the only way you can measure happiness, right? In particular, they ask about a life ladder. They say, picture your life is on a ladder. Are you on the first rung, which is the worst possible life for yourself? Are you on the 10th rung, the best possible life for yourself? And you have to give a number. But what if you hate ladders, right? What if it's translated in a weird way where ladders don't make any sense? This is a fine data set, but it's only one, and we shouldn't go with this to make all our policies. All right. What is data? Not truth. Data is a momentary approximation of a particular time and a particular place. It's just a snapshot of the world that we took, right? And we did our best to take a really good snapshot, but it's just a moment. Data is instantly out of date. Doesn't mean we throw it away, doesn't mean it's not informative, but we have to remember it's not truth. It's also a subjective approximation. We think of data as the source of objectivity. It can be very helpful. In good faith, we hope that we're collecting data that we're trying to make as objective as possible. But no matter what, just like there's no such thing as an objective journalist, there's no objective scientist, there's no objective data. And as we think about that, that can allow us to learn more from the data that we have. Data only exists if we think it's something that's worth measuring. Some of the biggest questions in the world, happiness, poverty, equality, all that stuff, we don't have a lot of data on a lot of aspects of it. We have some, but there's a lot that we don't have data on, and that tends to reflect what we don't care about as much, right? And what we're going to talk about is it also reflects how we've decided to measure it. And measurement is a step in data science that I think is so important to making sure that we have robust data and that we're not misled by data. I feel like it's very odd that I'm like so worked up about data and then I look down, I'm like, woo, I'm wearing this crazy stuff. I wear this when I teach, by the way. I'm going to get fired. All right. So data, we say things about data. All right. What's my point? My point is, X-Files is a great show. My other point is that there is a capital T truth out there, right? When I talk about this stuff, it sounds like I'm like denying reality. No, of course, there's reality all around us, right? What a profound thing to say. There's reality all around us, but we humans turn that reality into data using tools, right? We use a thermometer, we use a measuring tape, pretend that's in centimeters. I don't even know how to get one that has, okay, you get it. Or we use surveys to figure out what people are thinking, that sort of thing, right? So it's that amazing task of measurement that turns the world that we care about so much into just some numbers that we hope somehow reflect and inform that world. And measurement is how I think we can all get involved in data science and be data acrobats and be less misled by data. So, as established, I think you all are data acrobats. Some of you already are. Fabulous, right? You can be a data acrobat as we leave this gathering here today by engaging in measurement and asking questions about measurement. Look at this graphic. I'm so good at it. Okay. What are these? Someone shout out what these are examples of. Tests. Yes, these are examples of tests, right? Has anyone ever taken a test, whether it's a driving test or an academic test or whatever, taken a test and felt like the answer, the result that you got, the score that you got, was not reflective of your underlying skills or knowledge? You're nodding hard even before I finish the sentence, right? Yes, we've all been there. You get some tests and you're like, I know this material. What is this, right? Possibly you don't know the material as much as you think you do, which is what I have to say to my students sometimes, but possibly the assessment is not actually that good. I think of this all the time when I'm teaching, right? When I write an exam that I think will capture how much my students know. But sometimes I get it wrong, and so the grades don't actually reflect their actual aptitude. And so if you've ever taken any kind of test or been evaluated in any kind of way, and this isn't even just formal exams, right? You put something on the internet and people like it or they don't like it, or it's quote tweeted or you're dragged through the mud or whatever, that's probably not necessarily reflective of what you thought the outcome would be. Anytime we review a restaurant, we review a performance, we are turning the world, our experience of that restaurant, that person, your skills, into numbers. And in some cases, when it comes to human performance, that can be very easy. But most of the time, it's very, very hard. We take some aspect of like, how smart is someone? How well are they going to do at their next job? Should we hire them? Should we promote them? Are they a leader or are they a team player? And we think about all these things and then we say, oh, maybe they're a 7? I don't know, right? We have no good measures for a lot of what humans are capable of. We have some, right? So I'm not saying we can't turn human aptitude and human skills into data, but I'm saying we have to be very, very careful. And we have to be aware of the fact that anytime we turn something three-dimensional, I focus on humans, doesn't have to be just humans, we are being incomplete and we are being partial. A driving test, at least in the United States, tests like how you park, how you turn around, and you never go above 5 miles per hour. In the United States, everybody drives 600 miles per hour, right? It is a horrible test of how I'm going to do on the road. You get it. All right. So we need to be aware, and we need to update our inferences accordingly. Anyone know who this is? You can't see his face. No? I don't know his name. All right. He's a Hungarian Olympian, all right? I tried to be locally sensitive. I don't know how you can't tell your own countryman right here, okay? But here he is. I think he won a gold medal. Congrats. So when you're evaluating talent in swimming, what is the measure that we use? How do we evaluate who's a better swimmer? Time. Absolutely right, right? We measure talent via time. Who's this? Okay, Google led me astray on this. No one knows? She was a Hungarian figure skater in the Tokyo Olympics, maybe? Anyway, everyone got really excited because she did this like punk figure skating routine, and everyone was really impressed. Okay, doesn't matter. How do you evaluate figure skating? There's so many different things that go into evaluating figures. There's multiple judges. There's millions of dimensions. It's insane. Last one. This is someone at work. Sometimes when we're at work, we have to deal with stuff on, annoying emails and things like that. Other times we have to work late into the night. Other times we have to give presentations. Other times we have to schmooze with our colleagues and pretend that we like them. And how do we measure our performance at work most of the time? We do it with a stupid survey, all right? A very basic survey. I work with a lot of companies that try to measure talent, and they say, we're turning it into data so it can be a meritocracy, and it can be objective. And then I say, great, how are you measuring it? And they say, well, we just ask if they're a leader on a scale of 1 to 5. And you're like, oh, that can't be good, right? And they say, oh, don't worry, we don't just ask about leader. We ask about whether they're a top talent. You're like, well, what does that mean? Okay, great. And we say, well, sometimes we ask if they're gritty, which trended hard in the business world in the United States about a year ago, right? But none of these things probably are thoroughly capturing what's actually going on when someone does work. So this we'll talk about in more detail afterwards because I gotta move on from this. But here's what you do. If you are working in a company, you're in school, you're working in an organization, you say, how do I measure the talent of my people? You need 3 steps. 3 steps, right? You need to conceptualize. What do I mean about talent? Do I mean flexible? Do I mean intellectual? Do I mean analytical? Do I mean a leader, outspoken? And what do I mean by those things, right? And in most companies I talk to, they say, oh, we want a leader. They get things done. And you're like, okay, maybe. I think you're just codifying how much you like people, but all right. Then you need to operationalize, right? How am I going to turn that idea into data? Most companies say, we'll do it on a scale of 1 to 5. And then you need to validate. How do I know I measured the right thing? How do I know I measured my students' knowledge? How do I know that I evaluated people for promotion who actually deserve a promotion? Have you ever seen someone get promoted who you think doesn't deserve a promotion? That's a mismeasurement. Might be other issues too, right? I don't see companies do this at all. They just say, let's hope for the best, right? Instead, we could say, well, what do I mean by leader? I mean, they motivate others. What might that look like if I were to turn that into number? Well, maybe I could quantify the growth of the members of their teams. Maybe something there, right? And how would I know that that's right? I'd look at the list at the end of the performance review and say, does this actually make sense to me, a subject matter expert? Thanks for nodding. We tend to evaluate talent on one dimension. We say, are they a good engineer? Are they a good scientist? Are they a good politician? But most of us have skills along multiple dimensions, right? I think there's someone in the audience here who's a smart philosopher and also a jiu-jitsu practitioner, right? I obviously do multiple things. Most of us do multiple things. We don't have good measures to encapsulate that people do multiple things. And why does that matter? Whoops. And that matters because of birds. All right, it matters because of birds. Because of a concept called emergence, which is to say that our talents are an emergent property of our underlying skills. Right? And emergent means that the whole, my talents and my value for the world, if you will, is both greater than and different from the sum of my parts. Right? So the talents I bring to work, the talents I bring to politics, the talents I bring to whatever are greater than and different from the individual skills or pieces of training. We have no way of capturing this. And anytime you've been measured in any way and you've walked away and felt like, I don't think that captured me, it's because it didn't, right? And I don't think we'll ever get one measure that's going to do it. But if you're looking at data about humans, you should see at least 10 different measures, not just one. So, in conclusion, the next time you see data about humans, especially about abstract stuff like talent and happiness, one, how many balloons are they holding? Okay, they're happy, right? Ask, how was this measured? How was it conceptualized? How was it operationalized? How was it validated? And if the person you're talking to or the data that you're looking at or you're trying to make a policy based on doesn't have an answer, or it's an answer that you don't think captures the thing that you all think you're out here to measure, don't use that data, all right? There's so much data out there, but a lot of it is crap. Now, this isn't a free pass to dismiss any data you don't like as crap, right? It's just to say you must be critical of all the data that you're working with. All right. I've talked for far too long. I don't know where Ildi is, but if you do both of these things all at once, then you too can be a true data acrobat. Thank you very much for being here.
Okay, well, everybody, give it up for Andrea. Well, I mean, wasn't this like, I cannot believe how fast she can speak. Like, I mean, that alone was very impressive, but everything she was talking about was equally impressive. And you think this is going to end? Well, you are gravely mistaken, because there must be a reason why Andrea is dressed like this, okay? I mean, other than the fact that she's just plain brilliant, awesome, and brave, and I look up to her a lot. So once everything is off stage, you just take your position, and I'm going to give the green light.
I guess I didn't ask. Do you all want to see a fire show? Yeah, all right. It was like, everyone's like, don't do it. All right, back up if you don't like fire. All right.
Yes, we want to see it. And I guess nothing left is to do than music cue and give a round of applause for Andrea!